Hi, this is Ian here. I was on the Great British Bake Off back in 2015, it's a long time ago now, but baking has still been a large part of my life ever since then. And it's fair to say that baking has brought me a lot of happiness, not just from being on Bake Off and all the extraordinary things that happened along the way and since then, but also because of all the lovely food that I've been able to produce. So I thought I'd share one of my skills, one of my recipes with you today. Well, actually, it's kind of going to be a variety of recipes in some ways. What we're going to do to start with is make some rough puff pastry. Now, pastry is one of those things that a lot of people kind of get a little bit intimidated by, and you might just buy a roll of it in the supermarket. Don't get me wrong, I know that's a very easy thing to do, but if you make your own, I can almost guarantee it'll be a lot more delicious. So once we've made that, then I can show you a couple of different things you could do with it. There's a whole myriad of pies and puddings and things you can do, but we're going to do two relatively simple things. We're going to make some sausage rolls and also some Eccles cake. So two quite different final results, but both delicious. So, without further ado, I think we'll get cracking with it right now. As you can see, I've just got 4 ingredients in front of me. Plain flour, got 250 grams of plain flour, 220 grams of unsalted butter that I've diced into about 1 centimetre cubes, and that's at room temperature. I've got about a teaspoon of salt and then some cold water. So, okay, so I've measured out the flour already, and we're just going to, don't have to sieve it or anything like that, all nice and easy. In goes the salt, as I say, about a teaspoon of it, and then in goes the butter. We're just going to try and sort of break it apart a little bit as it goes in, and there it goes. So I'm just breaking it apart into all those pieces here in the bowl, and then what we're going to do is get stuck in with our fingers, and we're just going to sort of partially rub it in. We don't want to rub it in all the way so it disappears, but just because it's those sort of lumps of butter that will help kind of give us the layers basically in the pastry. So that's all looking pretty good now. So I'm just going to use a bit more force with another big bit there, break that apart. A bit more force to kind of partially rub the butter in. So it does require a little bit of effort, and it's kind of easier when it's a cold day, and your fingers don't melt the butter. There we go, looking good. Now, what we're going to do is put 100 grams of water in there, or 100 mils of water. If you can remember from school days that 1 gram of water is 1 mil. And I find it's much more accurate to weigh out water rather than try and measure it in a measuring jug. So I'm just going to put in 100 grams, just pour it in on top, 88, 95. So we're just going to sort of cut the knife through so it's reasonably, it's all the sort of dry flour on the bottom starts to disappear, and then we're just going to give it a quick knead so it all disappears in there. But we don't want to knead it too much because, as I said, we do want those lumps of butter in there. So cut that off there. And then once again, in go my hands. Just kind of using my fingertips for a fairly light touch at the moment, and squish it all together a bit. So there we go, we've got a sort of ball of dough here, and that's feeling good to me. I'm happy with that. It's over there, and what I'm just going to do now is I'm just going to get it into a vague sort of rectangle, so we can then we're going to chill it and then start the magic process of making some layers. I'm just going to get a little bit of flour on my work surface here, and one of the keys to sort of helping you laminate the pastry, and that's creating the layers of the pastry, is to get them sort of nice neat corners because when you come to fold it, that really helps you. So just gently pressing it out, and if it sort of bulges out in one bit, you can give it a sort of tap with your rolling pin, and that will help sort of flatten the edges a little bit, like that. And if at any point it starts to stick, then just get some extra flour on there, because that can often be the downfall of pastry for people, is yeah, when it sticks to the work surface, then you really start to be on the back foot, and it's difficult to bring it back from there. So roll it out, and we're looking for it to be about something like about 5 by 14 inches. So you can imagine your sheet of A4 paper is 12 inches, so we want it to be a little bit longer than that. So it'll be sort of fairly thin, I don't know, what's that, ½ centimetre thick or something like that. Doesn't have to be too precise at this stage. So that's looking pretty good to me. So there we go, that is the first stage done. Oh, there we go, there's a bit that's stuck. So if it does stick, just get something like a knife and just sort of draw it underneath, and then make sure we put a good bit of extra flour under there to stop it sticking anymore. Make sure it's all mixed around, and you can see that's all moving freely around the countertop now. So I'm happy with that. So that is stage 1 done. I'm going to rest it now for about 20 minutes, but if you want to leave it for an hour and 20 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes, whatever, that's fine. But it needs about 20 minutes just to chill it down, let the pastry relax, and then we'll start on the actual folding bit. Okay, so whilst the pastry is chilling, I thought I'd crack on and start making some of the Eccles cake filling. Once again, I think it's really quite a simple one. In the bottom there, I've got 60 grams of unsalted butter. I've then got 220 grams of currants. I've got some allspice, some nutmeg, and 90 grams of dark brown soft sugar. So let's get this on. And going there, sort of fairly gentle heat. Get a wooden spoon, get that melting away, and even though it's a sweet thing, just put a little pinch of salt in there as well. Just sort of helps to offset some of that sweetness a little. It's kind of like, that's why we all like salted caramel so much, because it's a nice mixture of sweet and savoury. So in goes the salt, then in goes all the sugar, and then just start stirring away really. Meanwhile, I'm going to grate some nutmeg in there. You've got to have about a teaspoon of nutmeg, which sounds like a lot, because normally you might only put a little grating of it in a recipe. But yeah, so it is a fair old bit. I'm just gonna estimate today. It's all quite flexible, relaxed. What have I done? No, still going to do a bit more than that. Just going to guess where vaguely a teaspoon is. I think that should probably do it. So I've probably used about 1/3 of a nutmeg there, something like that. And then I'm going for a teaspoon of allspice. So I'm just going to estimate that and palm my hand, because I've got to bring a teaspoon, and in that goes as well. And then just give it a good stir away. See, that's bubbling away quite nicely already. And then in go all the currants, and stir them in. I'll turn that down now. That's cooking away nicely. Really bubbling away. Alright, I think I'll turn that off. So it's got to be nice and cool, just room temperature, doesn't have to go in the fridge or anything. Then we'll come back to it later. Cool. Right, here we are back again with our pastry. It's had a good bit of time to chill. So what we're going to do next is start the actual process of making the layers. And this is when the real magic happens with the pastry. So we need a good source of flour. And as before, we're just going to do we're going to flour our work surface. Now we kind of need to put down just enough to stop it sticking, but not too much, because when we come to fold it, if it's really covered in flour, then it won't really stick together so well. So what we're going to do to start with, just roll it out a little bit, make sure it's all good. Then we're going to brush off any flour that's on the top here, and you'll find it's always easiest to work with the narrow edge towards you. To get that all nice and clean, then fold it over like you would a letter into thirds, like that. Then take the bottom half and fold that in. So you can see it's all sort of folded over, and they should meet together quite neatly like that. So we've done one fold, and now we need to do 3 folds. Here goes fold number 2. Fold it like you would for a letter. We'll just give it a little rotate, 90 degrees. Bit of flour underneath. And that's our 3 folds done. So we've worked our pastry quite hard, but so now we're going to pop it back in the bag, and we'll leave that to chill once again for about 20 minutes or so, something like that. So that's all good. Lovely. Right, off to the fridge again. Right, so here we are again with our pastry. That's had another 20 minutes or so to chill in the fridge. Now we're going to start rolling it out, and I think we're going to start with some Eccles cakes, and then we'll move on to sausage rolls. So I'm going to use about half the pastry for each. So we'll just chop that roughly in half, and then pop the other half, can go back in the bag, and then pop it in the fridge. Use it, just keep it somewhere cool for the moment. Now, once again, as ever, giving our surface a good dusting of pastry. Flour, lots of flour. Now we're looking to get it really nice and thin, this pastry. We don't want our Eccles cakes to be too chunky with pastry. So yeah, that's probably about 50p thickness now, so that's good. So next thing is, what we're going to do, I've found the easiest way is to use a 12-hold cupcake tray, and I'll put a little bit of cling film inside it, and all we're going to do is use a pastry ring in order to cut out a disc of pastry, and then we're going to pop that in the hole and use it to sort of help us mould it. You can do it freeform, but I reckon this is a pretty quick and easy way of doing it. So you can see it's what is it? About 15 mil bigger than the top of the cupcake holder mould. So let's just check that is about the right size. So yeah, about 15 mil bigger all the way around than the thing. So all we're going to do, let me move this pastry over, hopefully you see it, is get that in there, just sort of trying to gently press it in. It'll kind of naturally want to bunch up as you push it down. So into the hole that goes. Then we've got our nice Eccles cake mixture, which is nice and cool now. Get a spoon, and you're looking to sort of fill it about halfway up, something like that. Not too much in there, otherwise it can be difficult to sort of enclose it all in place. So something like that, about halfway up, and press it down so it's reasonably firm in there, and then simply you can kind of use the cling film to help lift it from the edges. Just sort of pull it towards the centre. It is do have to be a bit gentle with this, because obviously it's relatively thin pastry, and you're trying to get it to all stick together in the middle. It's a bit of a knack. It might take you a little while to do the first one or two, but after a while I'm sure you'll be flying along. So there we go. You can see what I'm trying to do here is just, I've bunched it all together, and now I'm just trying to sort of squash it all over so there are no gaps there, which we've managed to do. And then once it's all enclosed like that, turn it over, and what we're going to do is just on the flat floured surface, just press it down a fair bit and what you're going to see is the sort of the currents almost kind of poking through the pastry. You can kind of see how thin the pastry is. You can see the sort of the colour and the dent they leave in the pastry. And that's them done for the moment. So put that aside, and then on with the next one. Right. I'll tell you what, I'm going to try doing one freeform, and we can see what happens. Always good to keep on experimenting with these baking business. So putting about a sort of, about a tablespoonful in the hand, squishing it together. I would imagine I want to try and keep my hand fairly clean so I don't get sort of sticky sugary stuff all over it. So let's see if that's any easier. Once again, probably starting at one side and going all the way around, just pinching it all in. Looks, yeah, maybe that was easier. I don't know, find your own way, see what you think is best. And then into the middle that goes, make sure it's all nicely tucked in. Like that, and once again, press it down. So it's sort of fairly thick disc. What's that? Probably 10-12 mil, something like that. And that's that one done as well. So that's two ways of making Eccles cakes. I'm going to crack on with the rest of these, and yeah, hopefully we'll get something like a dozen of them out at the end of it. Cool. Right. So the final stage with these is to get an egg. Just any size egg will do. Right, so we just need to beat our egg up a little bit. Just using the pastry brush here. Doesn't need to be anything too special. Then get some baking parchment. Onto there. And on these go. Then we're simply just going to give the tops of all of them just a quick brush with an egg wash. That will sort of help give them a lovely colour and a lovely shine. So on that goes. Right, and that's the last of them done. Next thing, just get some sugar. I'm going to use some Demerara sugar, otherwise any old sugar will do. Just give them a sprinkling of that on top. That'll just sort of give a nice little extra crunch to them. And then the final crucial thing is to slash the top. I'm going to use this very sharp, it's kind of like a razor for slashing bread, but something like a Stanley knife, or even if you've just got a normal kitchen knife, but it's got to be really, really sharp. And then just 3 very gentle slashes on top. And that is those beauties all done. So I'm going to put them to one side whilst I start prepping the sausage rolls, and then we can actually start baking. Now this time it'd be good if I can keep a flat edge, and you'll kind of see why in a moment when I start to pipe out the actual sausage meat itself. So we've got a nice long flat, pretty flat edge along the bottom here. We then need a nice sharp knife. And then you want to sort of square it off at either end. I'm just going to chop that little bit off there, out of the way. Then, as I say, we're going to square it off about there. There we go. So we've got a sort of pretty good rectangle. Don't worry about the top, that's fine. So then we've got our piping bag full of sausage meat. So off we go. And then just stop at the end. You might find it's actually easier. Depends what your sausage meat is like. Might want to sort of stick together, so you might actually just need to give it a little cut. Then what I like to do with my sausage rolls is I've got a bit of whole grain mustard, and I like to put that inside the sausage roll as well. So just get that all nice and straight, and then simply spread, a fairly generous amount of it all the way along the sausage roll, a little bit like that. Then simply all we do, probably starting at the edges, just gently lift it off, roll it over the top, then tuck it in so it's nice and neat, and it's got to be all reasonably tight. So all you want to do is just bring it down so that that bit is has gone over and then just touches there. Then once again, getting your sharp knife, probably leaving something like, I don't know, 1.5 centimetre extra, then just cut along the pastry. If you've got a really sharp knife, that would help. This one's only quite sharp. Then just get that bit out of the way. Then all we're going to do is just, using a pastry brush here, you could actually just use water on this bit, but we got egg on there, that's fine. Just give it one quick brush with the egg there, that will just help it stick together, and then just roll it over and gently press it down nice and evenly all over, like that. And there you go, there is a sausage roll. You could have one monster long sausage roll, or we could make it into nice bite-sized portions. I'm going to go for bite-sized, so a couple of inches long, something like that, and just cutting fairly gently, kind of using a bit of a sawing motion, gently going back and forth. So you don't squash it all down, just cut through with your knife, like so. Put all these little beauties on here. Then, final step, give them, like the Eccles cakes, a nice wash, egg wash. If you've got any egg allergies or anything like that, you can actually use milk or something like that. But or even yeah, that will do for if you've got egg allergies. But if you really want a good shine, then it's good to do a mixture of beaten egg and milk, or even double cream. That's particularly good. So a bit of that. And then, as before, we're just going to give them a quick slash with the very sharp knife. Once again, just sort of scoring the top, so not going all the way through, but just to make a little bit of a mark. And yeah, it's probably fair to say this is just a decorative thing, but it does look kind of nice. I'm doing 3 cuts on the bigger ones and 2 on the smaller ones, like that. Right, and that is, well, we've got 11 Eccles cakes and 11 sausage rolls. So I think that's pretty good from one batch of pastry. But final step is obviously to bake them. Right, now the oven's come up to temperature, so we're going to get these, and look at all those lovely baked goodies. They're all going to go in the oven now for at 190 degrees centigrade. I'll tell you exactly for how long once they're baked. Right, everything's been in the oven for just over 20 minutes and it's looking good, so I'm just going to grab them out now. 11 lovely sausage rolls. You see they've got nice little shine from that egg wash that we gave them, and they're all puffed up beautifully, so they look good. Then lovely 11 Eccles cakes as well. So that's my afternoon tea sorted. So there you go, there's a quick class on how to make puff pastry, or rough puff pastry, and all the good things you can do with it.